The Galaxy A34 is one of Samsung's newest entry-level phones, boasting a large screen, a large battery and a triple camera setup. But how is it to actually use? We're going to find out in this video, so let's take a look. So there's two versions of the A14 to choose from. There's the 4G version I have here, and there's also a 5G version as well, which switches up the processor and a couple of other specs. So this 4G model, if you're still not bothered about 5G, offers a sizable 6.6-inch 1080p display with a 60Hz refresh rate. It is just a PLS LCD as opposed to AMOLED on other Samsung phones. And while it is a nice and sharp display, packing 400 pixels per inch, the lower screen tech is noticeable due to the pastel blacks rather than deep blacks from an AMOLED. And overall it is a really nice display, although there are some chunky bezels around the phone, especially on the chin, and there is a rather dated teardrop notch at the top which doesn't help its design either. Although this houses a higher res 13 megapixel selfie camera with a wider f2.0 aperture than the 8 megapixel f2.2 from last year's A30. But in most scenarios the selfie camera performs pretty well and should be enough for most people. And as for the build of the Galaxy A14, unsurprisingly it's an all plastic design, but Samsung have gone for kind of a striped textured back and also individual camera cutouts, which is found on the flagship S23s, so it is nice that they're filtering that down to their budget phones as well. Buttons and ports are the usual, with a fingerprint reader embedded into the power button, which is okay. Not the best, but I did find myself wiggling my finger a bit to get it to read properly. And the face unlock isn't the most accurate either, so to be fair, using a pin or the pattern unlock system might actually be a bit better. You also get the usual USB-C charging port at the bottom, alongside a single firing speaker, microphone and headphone jack. So now with all the boring bits out the way, let's talk performance. The phone comes packing a modest MediaTek Helio G80 processor built on an older 12nm architecture, but in some markets you do get Samsung's in-house Exynos 850, also found in the A12 and A13. And why 3 generations of this phone potentially come with the same chip, I literally have no idea, but this is backed up with either 4 or 6 gigabytes of RAM and either 64 or 128 gigabytes of built-in storage, which is expandable with a micro SD card. But to be fair, performance is pretty good. Plenty for your basic tasks, web browsing, social media, light gaming and camera use. No problems for me. And not being a power-hungry chip means that the 5000 mAh battery inside the A14 will get you up to 2 full days with light use, so no issues there. But the 15-watt charging means a full charge will be a couple of hours at least. So that's something to bear in mind if you're thinking of the A14 and want fast charging. You're not going to get that here. And as for software on the A14, you get Samsung's own One UI Core version 5.1 on top of Android 13. And One UI Core is a stripped back version of One UI, just missing out on a few features. Missing out on Easy Mode, Edge Panel and Edge Lighting, Samsung Health and Secure Folder. But aesthetically, One UI Core looks identical and operates in the same manner. You still get bright icons and customization options with themes and wallpapers, etc. And to be honest, it was enough for me, and I think most people going for a budget phone like this aren't going to be looking for the best features on the software or even the hardware of a phone. And lastly, onto the cameras of the A14, you get a triple camera setup headlined by a 50 megapixel f1.8 primary camera, a 5 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide, and then a 2 megapixel f2.4 macro camera. And to be fair, this is a pretty basic setup and very common in budget phones these days. So of course, sadly, the macro camera is about as useful as a chocolate teapot, low resolution, bland colors, not really one that I found myself using. The ultra-wide isn't much better either. At only 5 megapixels, this camera produces just about usable photos in bright conditions. But even then, the edges of the photos are noisy. If only Samsung upped it to an 8 megapixel camera, this would have been better. And as for the main camera, this, to be fair, isn't too bad. It produces some nice detailed photos, binned down to 12.5 megapixels. Colors are nice, detail is great in bright conditions, and naturally it will struggle in lower light situations, and there's no night mode to help in these scenarios either. And I didn't find the shutter speed to be the best either. I did find that when there were some light winds outside, it did struggle to keep certain subjects in focus. But of course, in strong wind conditions, you can't expect really any budget phone to be able to cope with that very well. But it's not an issue that I've had with any other budget phone that I've used in those same scenarios. So that's just something to bear in mind with this A14. Here's a quick sample of video coming from the 13 megapixel selfie camera. It is basically just bog standard video quality as you'd expect at this lower price point. But do let me know down in the comments what you think of this video quality. And to be fair, photos coming from this 13 megapixel camera are pretty good. There's good amounts of detail and subject separation in portrait mode does a pretty good job. But again, let me know down in the comments what you think of this camera. And here is a video coming from the main 50 megapixel camera of the Galaxy A14. Again, let me know what the quality is like and what the sound recording is like as well. Tops out at 1080p at 30 FPS, so you don't get any high frame rate video, but again, to be expected at such a budget price. So that's my look at the Galaxy A14, this 4G model. Overall, you get a large display, great battery life, and a decent main camera. Of course, its shortcomings are no AMOLED display, no high refresh rate display, and pretty basic performance with that Helio G80 processor. But I did manage to pick this one up in basically brand new condition with the box and unused cable for just 99 quid. So if you shop around, you can get this at a really great price. But of course, other options, at least here in the UK, are going to be phones from Motorola, Honor, Oppo, that may offer a bit more of a better value device at this phone's normal £180 asking price. But at 99 quid, I think you'd be pretty happy with what the phone can do. But of course, at the £180, I think you can definitely pick up a better deal with maybe a Motorola or an Honor phone. But of course, as usual, let me know down in the comments. I have got some other budget phone videos on my channel, and I have just reviewed the Honor X7A, which can be found for about 140 quid, which offers some different features than what the A14 offers as well. So I'll see you there.